Welcome back to my writing room, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your day, your precious time to come hang with me for a little bit here. Good to see you again. We are day 3 of the new daily vlog that I'm doing, and we're also day 3 of me being married. And eventually I will stop pointing all these things out to you every time we do one of these, but for right now, it's all still feeling very new and exciting and fresh, and I'm still adjusting, so bear with me. And even when I do adjust, I hope it still feels exciting and new and fresh, but Nikki and I will work on that. That's something that's always worth working on. So yeah, welcome back. I've been thinking a lot this week about silence, which may seem like a strange thing to you to think about, but I will explain. I don't do small talk. Years ago, I actively decided to stop participating in small talk. I fucking hate small talk. I hate talking without saying anything. I don't know if it's because of my natural impatience with humanity, or, I'm a writer and I deal in words and I think it should mean something. Whether it's a bullshit, pretentious reason or a practical reason, I don't do small talk. Whether it's with strangers or even with people I know, I don't speak unless I have something to say. I also stopped fake laughing years ago. I don't do that. I don't do anything to fill awkward silences. I don't believe in awkward silences. I like silence. Most people do not like silence. Most people, if you were making a list of things that makes most people uncomfortable, silence would be very high on that list, I feel. We don't like silence. We will do almost anything to avoid it. I embrace silence, and there are benefits to that, I've found. I listen a lot more than I used to. I used to listen and not hear anything, but with age and maturity, I've seen the value in actually listening to people and hearing what they have to say. And as a writer writing fiction, studying people and listening to natural conversation helps you with characterization, with dialogue. It's a good thing to do. I also find silence benefits you in negotiating situations, whether it's with a belligerent dry cleaning clerk or like across a boardroom table. If you are silent for long enough and you commit to silence, I find most people will acquiesce to what you want just to end the silence. Because again, we hate silence. So I've always found it to be a benefit personally. And what got me thinking about this was a friend of mine, his wife is non-neuronormative in a lot of ways. I'm not going to put a label on which ways because I'm not going to diagnose her. I don't know. But she doesn't participate in conversation a lot with people, even with people she knows sometimes, because she tends to take things very literally for one, very Drax and Guardians of the Galaxy like if you tell her to comb the desert, she will literally go comb the desert. She was the one who said that when she was explaining. I thought that was hilarious. She also tends to be incredibly direct with people. Not rude, just very direct and very honest. And that's the other thing. People hate honesty too. We like deluding ourselves about ourselves and about the world around us and what's really going on is as American as apple pie. That may be universal. I don't know if that's just Americans or all people. But we hate honesty. We do anything we can to avoid honesty. And honesty and silence really go hand in hand. It's in the silence that you confront honesty. So that's really what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid everything getting quiet so that we have to deal with shit as it really is. So this friend of mine's wife I'm talking about, she cuts right through all of that, and that is infuriating to a lot of people. So she tends to be ostracized for it. So she's afraid to like participate and try to communicate with people because she feels she's going to offend them and be ostracized for it, and she has been in the past. She was saying, as you naturally would assume, and that's really fucked up. She should not have to be afraid to be. And that's the thing. I love talking to her. I love her brutal honesty. I love her directness. She asks questions that you would never think to ask that actually end up being very insightful and force you to confront things about yourself and about reality that you hadn't considered. I love that shit. I think she's awesome. But a lot of people don't. Whereas, and this is the thing, I was talking to them and a couple of other friends of ours, and we were talking about that, and someone pointed out that she and I are actually very similar. The only difference is where it is often a boon to me, it's a detriment to her. They were saying, well, Matt's quiet and doesn't talk, and people just assign this like innate coolness to him, or it's like that stoic alpha male bullshit, I think. Because that's part of that toxic masculinity thing. It's that strong, silent type crap that's heaped upon guys. Like, we're rewarded for shutting up and not expressing our feelings or our opinions about certain things. I mean, opinions we're allowed to shit everywhere, but not like feelings and actual real shit. The more bullshit we do, the more we're rewarded. Whereas women are penalized for that. This person I'm talking about, when she is silent, she's seen as like stuck up and cold and severe, and people are like, well, I don't want to be around her, she's a bitch. Whereas me, it's like I remember back when I used to go to conventions a lot. The thing is, you can be silent and not be rude. I used to be silent and rude. I used to just be an asshole, and I'm not, and I can still be an asshole. We all can, but I've worked very hard on that. But I used to be silent and an asshole. And even when I was silent and an asshole, people would still kind of flock around me and give me a pass and think I was cool because of it, which is not cool. And I shouldn't have been benefiting from that. So I was just thinking about how unfair that shit is. And the point that I'm trying to arrive at is whether you are non-neuronormative like this friend of mine that I'm describing, or whether you're not, and maybe you tend, even if you're not overt about it, even if you're not conscious about it, even if you tend to judge people who are more reserved and more silent and don't participate, take a minute and stop and think about how fucking unfair that dynamic is. Like, no one owes you shit, you know? It doesn't make them a bad person, just because they're afraid to participate because they're afraid of how you're going to react to them, you know? And also, don't assign cool points to fucking do... And here's the thing, not all guys get that pass that I get. I happen to be lucky to have a certain stature and a certain look and a certain complexion. All these things matter, that feed into that strong silent stereotype. You know, more gentlemen, more on like the nebbish side or the nerdy side or whatever you want to call it, they don't get that same pass. They just are seen as awkward, and and they're ostracized in the same way. Even if they're not awkward, they're just quiet because they're like the friend I'm describing. They're afraid to participate because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing or be perceived the wrong way or not understand the references and the witty shit that everybody's saying. So yeah, I think we should all take a fucking breath sometimes in those social situations and really consider, am I snap judging someone because they're afraid of me? And am I assigning cool points to someone for perpetuating crappy behavior that's really has an adverse effect on them, has an adverse effect on culture, and is a really shitty standard to hold people to? Basically what I'm saying is none of us should fear the silence. We should embrace the silence a little more, and we should allow people to, and ourselves, to exist in that silence, and give everybody a little more space, and not be so fucking afraid of someone who is earnest and direct and sincere. That's the thing. This person I'm describing, she's not rude. She doesn't blurt out shit that she's not supposed to blurt out. She's just very open and earnest and sincere. And even when she's doing that tends to really enrage people. So I don't get it, but it's okay to be quiet, is what I'm saying. It's not okay to judge people for being quiet. So yeah, I don't plan to change. I like the way I am. I like the way I operate. I think I've taken a lot of time to excise the shitty parts of that behavior, because like I said, I used to be silent and rude, and I used to be silent and callous, and I try not to be callous and rude now. But I also don't feel the need to overly participate when I don't want to, just to make other people comfortable. There's a balance to be struck there. You shouldn't just mad dog and dead face stare at people in silence, because that's not a cool thing to do, especially when you're huge like I am. Like, I'm very careful not to do that with women, because it's a very intimidating thing, because women are forced to walk around every day fearing that someone who looks like me is going to cause them serious harm. So I try to be more aware of people now, but I'm not going to engage in niceties just to please other people, and I don't think I should have to. I don't think anyone should have to. So within those bounds, and within common sense, and within consideration, it's okay to embrace the silence. It's okay to seek the silence. And I think we should all be a little more aware of that. So that's just shit that's been on my mind this week. I thought I would, in a very rambling way, try to offer that to you for whatever it's worth. I hope you found value in it. Some of you can probably relate to it, and I hope maybe it makes some of you think about how you perceive silence in others. Anyway, I got to get to work. I tried to do this. I tried to record this, and I got interrupted because I'm using those command hooks, those damage-free hooks on my walls, and one of my pictures on the other side of the camera just fell off and crashed my desk and knocked a bunch of shit over and knocked to the floor. And I was like 6 minutes into recording and just broke the whole thing and fucked it up. And I refused to do any editing on these, so I just started over again. Anyway, So it's late in the day. I need to get to work, but yeah, it's okay to seek the silence. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment on this. Also, I'm taking requests. So if you have a question for me or you have something you would like me to talk about, please feel free to leave that in the comments. I know Tristina Wright, very talented author, wanted me to do like an office tour, which I think that's something I will do. Since I'm doing this every day, I certainly need the ideas. Once I get that fucking picture hung back on the wall, I'll do an office tour. So yeah, anything else you'd like me to talk about or questions you'd like me to answer, feel free to leave that in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you back here tomorrow in my writing room, folks.